Hey, welcome to your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. I appreciate you guys joining me today. I apologize for the hiccups. We were supposed to start earlier. Lord willing, that won't happen again, but it's totally Gabe's fault. No, just kidding. It's my fault in part. I literally did not have a wire hooked up. So, anyway, it is what it is. I apologize. We will be starting on time next week, but I just wanted to go through. Obviously, there's been more breaking news since I left air earlier on Mike Gallagher's show with the Supreme Court coming down. Actually, it did break while I was on Mike Gallagher's show. What am I saying? I'll talk about it a bit. I haven't had the time to dive into it like I'd like, but the Trump immunity case, Supreme Court ruled in. I don't want to. It wasn't just in Trump's favor. It was in the favor of the presidency, if you will, where they said that a president, based upon official acts of the executive branch, should have full immunity. And then there's presumptive immunity that the president should have. But obviously, that does not apply to unofficial acts. This hurts Jack Smith's case big time. Two of the charges in Jack Smith's case. I'll go over that. I'll go over that too. So I want to talk about that case. I also want to talk about, I didn't get to finish up or wrap up on Mike Gallagher's show today, the media lies, why I'm not giving Dana Bash and Jake Tapper a pass whatsoever when it comes to the media. And I think that Republicans should not do that. It's not that I hate them or anything like that, but we have to understand who the left is. And the DNC, CNN, MSNBC, all these mainstream media outlets, legacy media outlets, they're one and the same. And they gaslit us for literally, well, not you and I. If you're listening to this podcast, they gaslit, a lot of Americans, unfortunately, for the last several years. And then everything came to fruition on Thursday evening during the debate, when everyone that watched the debate was like, our jaws dropped. Even those of us that knew that Joe Biden was a dementia patient. I've been saying it for years. He's a sundowner. We've all known it. Even before he stepped into the White House, when he was campaigning the last time around, he campaigned in the basement. We all knew it. It was because he had dementia. And we were saying it then. And anyone that's an honest person knew it. This guy is a puppet. He has always been a puppet. I'll go through that again. I spoke about that on Mike Gallagher's show earlier. I'm telling you, Jill Biden is running the White House, or she's in charge. She's the reason why Joe Biden won't be going anywhere. But at the same token, it is Barack Obama that controls the Democrat Party. He controls the DNC. He's the big dog, if you will. So Joe Biden and Jill Biden, they can enjoy the White House. That's exactly what they're doing, right? They're able to live like kings and queens. Did you guys see that tweet from Bill Ackerman earlier? They're able to live like kings and queens, but their lives will be nothing without the presidency. Jill Biden knows this. Sometimes Joe Biden might know this. And so that's exactly what we're witnessing. So I got a lot I want to get to. Again, I'm going to touch on the media, some of the media lies and distortions that we've been forced to live through for the last 3 years. Obviously, I want to touch on this case that the Supreme Court laid down earlier today, giving Trump immunity, a win in that case, which basically, I don't want to say it nullifies Jack Smith's case, but it definitely postpones it. And it's going to make it a little more difficult for Jack Smith to go ahead and fight that case. As a matter of fact, we have video clips from Jonathan Turley that I want you to listen to when it comes to that. And then also, I'm going to take the time again to go through why the end of the road for Biden means the end of the road for Barack Obama as well. And Gabe, that's probably a better title. The end of the road for Biden is the end of the road for Obama too. And I'll explain exactly what that means. I think what I want to do, Gabe, is I think I want to go right to the video clips. Let us start here with Jonathan Turley, because I want to talk about a couple of these Supreme Court cases, especially the Chevron deference case. I'm looking for the cut right now. I'm sorry. They were one and the same, to be honest. It was Jonathan Turley. So that's cut number 5. Let's go to cut number 5. This is Jonathan Turley, and he's okay. All right. So we'll get to that in just a sec. Gabe is uploading that for me. So, all right. So Jonathan Turley reached to the SCOTUS ruling affirming presidential immunity. in reading through this opinion, he says, I can't see how this doesn't induce cardiac arrest in the special counsel. The court is imposing a very significant burden on Jack Smith when this goes back through the court. So we'll have that video for you in just a second. But just there. Okay, all right. So let's go ahead and play that video. And then there was a ruling that happened earlier. Was it last week on the January 6th obstruction case that had already done some damage to Jack Smith's case. This may have, and I say may, have put a nail in the coffin. Here's Jonathan Turley, video clip number 5. Por favor, Gabe.
In reading through this opinion, I can't see how this doesn't induce cardiac arrest with the special counsel. At one point in the opinion, they say, look, this is a quote, the indictment's allegations that Trump attempted to pressure the vice president to take particular acts in connection with his role with the certification proceeding thus involve official conduct. And Trump is at least presumptively immune from prosecution for such conduct. The court then goes on to say that the burden, of course, is on Jack Smith. He has to show that this does not pose any intrusions into the executive branch. And the court says that that this, quote, may well hinder the president's ability to perform his constitutional functions. So here, the court is imposing a very significant burden on Jack Smith when this goes back to the judge. We talked about how this trial judge has proven to be very favorable towards Jack Smith. She's certainly been motivated to try to get a trial before the election. But the court here is giving much more clear lines than some people expected. They're saying that there is a presumption here that you have to deal with. The burden is high, and the court indicates that it may view this as something that could hinder a president's authority.
Trey, the Biden campaign clearly is indicating that they think this is a loss, at least in the way they wrote that statement that Dana read. I want to just read for 1 second about the dissent from Justice Sotomayor, who writes the dissent with Kagan and Jackson. Today's decision to grant former presidents criminal immunity reshapes the institution of the presidency. It makes a mockery of the principle foundational to our Constitution and system of government that no man is above the law. Whatever happens, as you read through this decision, it does expand the power of the executive. It is pretty consequential if we look at it big picture, Trey.
Well, I always think it was consequential. I mean, who else has plenary pardon power? Who else can order the killing of an American citizen overseas? It's always been the president. So presidents have always enjoyed powers that the rest of us do not. I read that dissent as just, they must not have read the majority opinion, because the majority opinion is pretty simple. Unofficial acts have no immunity at all. Official acts, there is immunity. We're going to presume that it was official. And
okay, so that was obviously. Oh, by the way, everyone, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and also subscribe to Rumble as well. We would certainly appreciate that. All things social media at The Carl Jackson Show. Today's show is brought to you in part by MyPillow.com. Mike Lindell at MyPillow.com. Still $25 extravaganza sale. All you have to do is go to MyPillow.com. Click on that radio podcast square and enter my name, Carl, C-A-R-L, or give them a call at 800-858-0263. I mean, they've got the My Pillow with the Giza fabric for $25, My Pillow sandals for $25, 6-pack towel sets for $25, brand new pack of dish towels for $25. Is absolutely insane. MyPillow.com, promo code Carl. He's been canceled, all right, by the left, by these box stores and these shopping channels, but he's passing the savings directly on to you, to my listeners. Okay, so now moving on. That's absolutely damning. Let me just read you a summary real quick of this January 6th case that had already shot a hole in Jack Smith's case. And by the way, the things that he was charging former President Trump with according to Fox News here, the questions stem from special counsel Jack Smith's federal election interference case, in which he charged Trump with conspiracy to defraud the United States. All right, that's one. Conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding. Okay, Keep that word obstruct in mind. I'm coming back to that. Obstruction of and attempt to obstruct an official proceeding and conspiracy against rights. All right, so just last week, the Supreme Court made Jack Smith's case a lot more difficult based upon the ruling that they had on Friday. And basically it says here, according to the Daily Signal, the Supreme Court decided that on Friday, decided a case that will affect the prosecutions of around 350 individuals that were charged in the connection with the riots of January 6th. And the decision could also well affect 2 of the 4 charges brought by special counsel Jack Smith. And those are the 2 obstruction charges that I just mentioned. And last week, the Supreme Court shot a hole in those. So the case arose from the prosecution of a gentleman by the name of Joseph Fisher. He attended the Stop the Steal rally on January 6th and entered the Capitol with hundreds of others. Fisher claims that he was inside of the Capitol for less than 4 minutes. He was pushed into a police officer's line by a surging crowd. Prosecutors contend that Fisher was among those who urged the crowd to charge and was part of a mob that pushed the police. And I believe that's a straight up lie because he was a police officer. A grand jury returned a 7-count indictment against Fisher. They charged him with assaulting police officers, entering and remaining in a restricted building, and engaging in disorderly and disruptive conduct within the Capitol. But Fisher didn't contest all of those other charges. The only one that he contested was, the sufficiency of the 6 he let go. But he filed a motion to dismiss the charge that he claims violated 18 U.S. Section Code 1512 by corruptly obstructing, there's that word, influencing or impeding an official proceeding in this case. Now, why is that important? Because the reason why Jack Smith used that obstruction charge, or where he got it from, where it derived from, was actually Sarbanes-Oxley, the Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002, I believe it was. And that was basically when the in-run, employees, whatever, were trying to destroy documents. They were doing it for weeks on end. They were destroying paper evidence and all this kind of stuff. That's what that applies to. So people stepping inside of a building, Jack Smith tried to use that law of obstruction and apply it to the Sarbanes-Oxley Act to these J6 defendants, including former President Donald Trump. They weren't getting rid of any paper evidence or any of that kind of stuff. All right. So it was just totally bogus. And so the Supreme Court threw that out. That automatically, well, I don't say it automatically. All right. It's still going to be a battle that has to be waged in the court. Right. But I mean, it really weakens his case. All right. And now the Supreme Court has kicked down. Some of these arguments are going to be heard back in a lower court. They're going to have to be reassessed by some of these judges. And it's just not going to bode well, I believe, for Jack Smith. And at the very least, all this stuff is going to take place after the election now. So not a great day whatsoever for the prosecution. And honestly, a great day for America. I don't care if you like President Trump. That's not what this is about. I believe, and as you guys know, this has happened for our entire history. The presidents of the United States have enjoyed some type of immunity, executive immunity. It doesn't mean, as Sonia Sotomayor wrote, that they can go out and assassinate their political opponent or some nonsense like that. Totally asinine. Sonia Sotomayor should be ashamed of herself, because what she's doing is just putting fear in the hearts of the left, because she's an activist that happens to be on the Supreme Court. All right. I mean, she just is. We all know that her dissent was just totally despicable, in my opinion, to get people hyped up that way. You can really incite people to violence if people fear that they're going to be living under a tyrannical dictator if Trump gets in again, which is totally asinine, since the guy is out of office and literally trying to run for office and beat Biden legitimately. I mean, it's just absolutely and utterly insane. But that's exactly where we are right now with the left. And so I just listen. The left is going to go crazy. The left are going crazy. The continued fallout from the Trump-Biden debate, the numbers continue to get worse. The poll numbers for Joe Biden continues to get worse. The left are absolutely terrified. Now, I got to tell you, This does not mean that we should rest on our laurels. I don't even know why I say that, rest on our laurels, but we shouldn't. They don't assume that it's going to be a landslide election. What's happening now is you have an opportunity to say or to tell people, friends, neighbors, so on, etc. Did you see that debate? You know that guy is incoherent. You know that guy should not be running the country. And I'm talking about people that are on the fence. You're not gonna persuade the lefties of the lefties, all right? So don't waste your time. But those that could be persuaded, this is the time to try and persuade them, because you can't unsee. No one, I don't care how much they gaslight people, you can't unsee what was seen last Thursday at that debate. I mean, it was even jaw-dropping for me. And I've been claiming for 4 years that he's had dementia. And I've listened to other conservatives try to clean it up on air. Well, you know, he's a little slow. No, he has dementia. And anyone that's been around somebody with dementia or Alzheimer's knows it. All right? Just absolutely insane. That's why I don't give any credence to Dana Bash and Jake Tapper either. I'll get into that in just a second. But today's ruling on the immunity case, I mean, that is basically struck down. The other couple of things are going to make it. They're going to make it extremely difficult for Jack Smith to go forward with these charges against the president. Imagine what it would do to the presidency if you have to sit there, in the presidency and wonder, oh my God, you know, what the heck is going on? Oh, I see some of you guys out there. Appreciate you guys tuning in on Facebook live. You can go to the Carl Jackson Show, also on YouTube, the Carl Jackson Show. But imagine what it'll do to the presidency if, you know, the president has to make it, if it's Trump, if it's Biden, if they have to make an executive decision, and we all know that Biden isn't making that decision. So, you know, Jill, man, scary thought. But you have to really wonder who's running the White House when the sundowner is done for the day, right? And frankly, even when he's not done for the day, if we're being completely honest. But imagine you're the president of the United States. You have to make a decision that's going to protect the U.S. You're going to protect U.S. soldiers. Imagine you're Trump and you're having to debate whether or not you should kill Soleimani. I don't know if I want to do that. And so this guy goes out and continues to kill our soldiers on the battlefield. You don't want to have to weigh that. You shouldn't have to weigh that. You have to make the best decisions for the country, given the information that's sent to you, and you shouldn't go to jail for that. I mean, you could say the same about George W. Bush. Weapons of mass destruction. I frankly believe that a lot of those weapons were carried into Syria, but it doesn't matter. I don't think we should have fought a war that long. I don't think we should ever fight wars that long. I think when we fight a war, we should fight to win. We should demolish our adversaries, and we should make it where they're telling stories to their grandkids about how much we devastated them. It should be quick, and it should be, I mean, just totally devastating. I don't think we should go in for 20-year wars, but nonetheless, you look at George W. Bush, you look at Barack Obama, who continued with some of George W. Bush's policies, even though he said he wouldn't, in the Middle East, and probably made decisions, right, based upon information that they were getting. And should they go to jail for some of those decisions? No. Now, Fast and Furious would have been a different thing, in my opinion, right? But that's another subject. I do think that was a criminal act. But what's going to make it very difficult for Jack Smith as well is how do you know what's an official act versus an unofficial act? That's going to be very, very hard for the courts to decipher. And so that's going to take a long time to work out in the courts. So I'm not saying his case is over, but I'm saying for the most part, at least before the election, the Supreme Court has just stuck a fork in it. And especially since they're ending right now, it's going to make it extremely, extremely, extremely difficult for Jack Smith to go on with this these sham charges against former President Donald Trump. Not to mention that Justice Clarence Thomas even mentioned in the opinion that he questions Jack Smith's eligibility, if you will, for even being a special counsel, since he was basically hired off the street. You know, so that's that. All right, so I want to share with you real quick because I want to go. That was a very important case. There's been some cases that have been disappointing for sure. I thought the 2A case last week when it came to domestic violence, I think that Justice Clarence Thomas, in my opinion, is the only one that got the only one that got that right, because basically that's red flag laws on steroids. And I forget the name of that case. I don't have it right in front of me. I thought I did. Oh, that stinks. I thought I did. So I'll get to that in a sec. But here's what I want to go to. I want to go to this Chevron deference case. Guys, this is a big win. Man, I'm telling you, praise you, Lord. Thank you, Jesus. All right, so this Chevron deference case is really big. I know that when it comes to regulation, that isn't a sexy thing. But I'm telling you, the deep state, the bureaucratic state, these bureaucracies, they have to go. They have to be weakened at the very least. That's what this Chevron deference case did. And, it's just this was a huge case. I got to tell you that my Berkey ate my homework, because I had literally gone through it. Notes. Can you guys see that? Notes and all that, and highlighted things and all that kind of stuff. And man, I'm telling you what, made the mistake of overfilling my water filter, and just, oh man. Anyway, but I'm going to go through this anyway, because I want you guys to understand how important it is. And also, I'm going to be reposting for those of you that are interested, an interview that I did. I should have posted it already. Forgive me. Gabe, found it for me yesterday. I think we did an interview probably a couple of years. A couple of years ago. We were ahead of this thing. We read the story. I was like, we got to get this guy on. It was one of the attorneys for, I believe it was the New Jersey fishermen, if I'm not mistaken, where the Commerce Department were forcing fishermen to pay for a Commerce Department official to sit on their boat, meaning they had to kick a fisherman off of their boat, and they had to pay a government official, because Congress was no longer willing to fund that sham, if you will. So the Commerce Department made fishermen pay for it. That is insane. All right. We have an executive, a legislative, and a judicial branch, and we, the people, get to elect our officials that make laws, not some bureaucrats. So this case was huge. Had to hit New York Times. Supreme Court overrules Chevron doctrine, imperiling an array of federal rules. All right, so here's the summary. The Supreme Court on Friday reduced the authority of executive agencies, sweeping aside a longstanding legal, precedent that required courts to defer, hence deference, Chevron deference, to the expertise of federal administrators in carrying out laws that were passed by Congress. So I have a problem. I have a problem with a couple of things. What about the expertise of private citizens? We're talking about the expertise of federal administrators in carrying out laws that were passed by Congress. I get so sick and tired how the little man, we the people, are lost in this thing. Plus, they're circumventing voters. They're circumventing elected officials. I don't like bureaucracies that are completely running the show. All right, so let me give you some stats. All right, Chevron versus Natural Resources Defense Council. It's one of the most cited in American law. There have been 70 Supreme Court decisions relying on Chevron, along with 17,000 lower court decisions. All right, so basically the decision threatens regulations in countless areas. This includes the environment. You can imagine the EPA. You can healthcare. You can imagine HHS. NIAID, CDC, so on, etc. Consumer safety. It was, this is really a good thing. Really a good thing. So I'm so glad it happened. The vote was 6-3, dividing along ideological lines. And I hate when that's written, when people write it like that. But it's the New York Times. The decision wasn't based upon ideological lines. They were constitutional lines. I mean, it's really simple. When you have a bureaucracy and with a bunch of bureaucrats that are unelected, those bureaucrats don't have a say. That's just the rule of law. That's constitutional. That is our system. So this is a good thing. This is really, 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 really a good thing. All right. So here's why some conservatives object to the Chevron ruling. All right, because it's partly based on a general hostility to a government regulation. 1, 2, partly based on the belief grounded. Now, keep in mind, this was written by a lib at the New York Times. Number 2, partly based on the belief grounded in the separation of powers, that agencies should have only the power that Congress has explicitly given them. And I believe this is the case. These agencies should only have the power that our congressmen give them, which brings me to another point. Why the hell are our representatives ceding their power to these bureaucratic agencies? It's one of the things that I hate. The deep state is one of the most dangerous things that's destroying the United States of America. And you don't hear many people talking about it. It's not the sexiest thing, but I'm telling you, we need to get rid of some of these agencies, whether it's the EPA, whether it's the CDC, whether it's the FBI, because these people circumvent you and I. They make us smaller. They make themselves powerful and big. And it's one of the problems that we're experiencing today. Now, supporters of the doctrine of the Chevron doctrine say it allows specialized agencies to fill gaps in ambiguous statutes, to establish uniform rules in their areas of expertise. Again, what if people in the private sector are smarter, and why should these special agencies fill the gaps of ambiguity? It makes no sense to me. A practice they say was contemplated by Congress. I don't care if it was contemplated by Congress, either it's law or it's not. And these agencies shouldn't step in to fill the void. Law should be clear. Law should be clear and defined. Unelected bureaucrats who hate America and our system shouldn't fill these gaps, and Congress just needs to do their jobs. Of course, not unelected bureaucrats within the executive branch should be the ones that are determining the statutes. So the two cases involved in this Chevron case was the Loper Bright Enterprises versus Raimondo. I believe that's the one. I believe we interviewed the attorney for that, if I'm not mistaken. And then the second case is Relentless versus Department of Commerce. So Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson had to recuse herself from this. So here's the history of the law. So both cases involved a 1976 federal law. This law required herring boats to carry federal observers to collect data used to prevent overfishing. All right. So you might say that, hey, listen, that's a good thing. There's some places where this stuff needs to be regulated. You want to make sure that you have enough fish in particular parts of water or whatever, so that they can continue breeding, continue feeding the people, continue, doing whatever they do to the ecosystem in that area. And that's fine. But that should be a state law, perhaps. And if it's a federal law, federal waters, then it should be passed by Congress. All right, and not by some unelected bureaucrat. So under a 2020 regulation interpreting the law, owners of the boats were required not only to transport the observers, so the Department of Commerce employees that they have to pay for by their taxpayers, but they also had to pay them $700 a day. Oh, by the way, thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us on our Facebook page. Also, are we on YouTube? Yep. So we're on YouTube. So if you're, we appreciate everyone joining us on YouTube. Please like and subscribe and share. We would so much appreciate that. It would help us out. Right now, we're talking about the Supreme Court cases, some of the ones that I really liked. I'm not going to go through. And what? Oh, Rumble and X as well. So you can watch us live. Thank you, Gabe. All right. So we appreciate that. And let me check out my Facebook page. All right, so that's the history of the law. So these fishermen had to pay a government official $700 a day to sit on their boats. They're not doing any fishing. So these people, the fishermen, are losing money. They're not employing a person that could be a taxpayer. And again, you have a bureaucracy that is forcing themselves onto a business and saying, you better pay me. That is insane. That is insane. I don't understand it. So I made some notes here. Replace the fisherman on the boat that will make you money, right? Pay a Department of Commerce, a bureaucrat, regardless of whether you made a profit or not. So imagine that. What if you go out and you make no money? Because you understand that those businesses are feast or famine. They may make a lot of money one day. They may make nothing. They may have no catches the next day. But you know who gets to get paid regardless? That government official has to be paid. That could sink those small businesses. They're not major corporations. You got to ask yourself, why is it that these regulators make it so hard for these small business guys? All right. Contundry Brown Jackson is worried that this will devastate the functioning of the federal government. I say good. All right. Thank you, Barbara. You're absolutely right. And you're speaking of, are you speaking of the Chevron doctrine case, or are you speaking of, let me check out my Facebook. Forgive me, guys, because I have to get used to, okay, that's on. Okay. So forgive me. I have to get used to this again. It's been some time since I've been on Facebook Live. I used to do it regularly when I was broadcasting locally, but we're just starting this up again. So we will be live on Monday nights, and then after Monday, we're just going to be podcasting. So I am going to ask you to please subscribe to our podcast and share our podcast. The Carl Jackson Show is where you can go to get it. Also, just real quick, I thought you were speaking of this one. Okay. All right. You probably were, Barbara. You probably were. That's my fault. I just wasn't looking at the right time. All right, guys, let me share with you. I want to talk to you about Priority Gold just real quick before we go on from this case. Actually, I'll wrap up with this, and then I want to go to why Obama is still playing a bigger role in the DNC than you might imagine. I think that Joe Biden is the Edith Wilson of today, meaning, Woodrow Wilson's wife that was basically running the White House for the last several months or last year or so, I believe, was of his administration when he was incapacitated. The same is true for Joe Biden. There's no doubt about it. We're going to play a video clip for you pretty soon. I think it's video clip 1. If you could get that ready, Gabe, the difference between Joe Biden then and now, because you can't unsee again what we saw on Thursday. But before I go on, let me talk to you about Priority Gold. So economists warn that massive tax hikes could devastate your IRA and 401k account as the stock market braces for impact. With inflation on the rise and global uncertainty looming, it's clear why central banks and savvy Americans are turning to gold. In times like this, Proverbs 21:20 reminds us to preserve what we built. Right now, that wisdom points us towards gold. If you haven't had your eye on gold, time to make it a priority. My name is Carl Jackson, and I urge you to call my friends at Priority Gold to find out how they can help you diversify your savings with physical gold and silver. Again, gold being a hedge against inflation. You can call the number 1-800-405-GOLD or visit prioritygold.com/golden. Again, prioritygold.com/golden for a free gold info guide. Plus, you can see if you qualify for free shipping and storage as well. Act now to get your portfolio working for you while the market is golden. All right, call 1-800-405-GOLD to speak with a gold specialist, or visit prioritygold.com. Prioritygold.com/golden. Prioritygold.com/golden. Prioritygold.com/golden to learn more, or give them a call at 1-800-405-405-GOLD. By the way, I think R.C. Williams may be on of SherlockExposes.com. He does some real good work. Talking about some of the things that impact the economy. So check him out. Appreciate you, RC, if you are out there. All right, so I just gave you the history of this Chevron deference case. This is huge. I mean, the Supreme Court knocked a lot of these bureaucracies in the mouth. It is through these bureaucracies like the EPA, like the Commerce Department, that the left will use in order to set up these regulations that we, the people, have no say-so in. They circumvent the people that we elect, and then all of a sudden, there's all of these rules, these edicts, that we have to obey and abide by, that we never voted on. We never had a say in. That is not our system. All right, so this is a huge win for people that love liberty. It was the Cause of Action Institute. I believe that's who we interviewed that represented the fishermen, and then fishermen in New Jersey and Rhode Island sued, saying that a 1976 law did not authorize the relevant agency. They argued that the National Marine Fisheries Service was the one that should have imposed the fee. But I go a step further, and I'd say none of them should. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. If they're not paid for by Congress, the fishermen shouldn't have to pay any fee, in my opinion. But that was a big win because that's going to have a ripple effect, across all of these agencies that are trying to take power from you that we don't have the ability to be able to vote for and vote on. So that is a huge case. So the Supreme Court overruling the Chevron deference case is absolutely huge. Every liberty lover out there that loves the fact that we get to elect our officials and a bunch of bureaucrats like, fascist Fauci or someone doesn't get to have a say without going through Congress first. This is a huge win for all Americans. And I would argue that the Trump immunity case is a win for all Americans too. We are not a third world country, right? We don't operate in the same way that they do. And so our presidents get immunity, not if they're dictators. We get to vote them out. Obviously, the stuff that Sonia Sotomayor talked about, that's if somebody is a tyrannical dictator. That is absolutely insane. And by the way, Joe Biden is alive. You didn't see Trump try to, use the military to take them out or anything like that. As a matter of fact, the person that is acting like a dictator is Joe Biden, Jill Biden, and whomever else is running the White House. Okay, so those were some important cases. Jack Smith is stuck. And now I think I want to let's move on to this real quick. American Spectator had a piece out today. The debate might be the end of the road for Barack Obama. Not a Biden, but a Barack Obama. I thought that was really interesting. So I dove into that on Mike Gallagher's show. I'm just going to go through it pretty quickly here just to get through it. But first, before I do, I want to play a video clip for you, Gabe. If you could go to, is it video clip number 1? I want people to see the before and after the comparison of Joe Biden 2019 compared to Joe Biden 2024. Let me make sure that I got it. So that Gabe doesn't cuss me out. Sometimes it gets really nasty if I don't just pick the video. So anyway, all right, video clip number 1. Pull Bible.
I continue to think we have to make fundamental changes in civil rights. And those civil rights, by the way, include not just only African Americans, but the LGBT community.
He wants to get rid of the ability of Medicare
I did not oppose busing in America. What I opposed is busing ordered by the Department of Education. That's what I oppose.
Making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID. With dealing with everything we have to do with.
Wow.
Look, if
you will determine the outcome of this election. Vote, vote, vote. If you're able to vote early in your state, vote early. If you're able to vote in person, vote in person. Vote whatever way is the best way for you, because he cannot stop you.
And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look.
I mean, this guy shouldn't be running the White House. I know there's people that are scared of invoking the 25th Amendment. Oh, we don't have to run against this guy or that guy. We don't want to have to die with missiles coming our way because this guy doesn't know what he's doing and doesn't know how to defend the country. I mean, he's already a lefty. He was already, stupid when it came to foreign policy. But now our adversaries see this. I mean, they've already seen it. They've known it, right? But this is absolutely insane. This is insane. I mean, if you just look at the side by side of the pictures, 2019 compared to 2024. Guys, when he started running for office in 2019, I said he had dementia then. I thought he was bad then. It is to look at him today, it literally looks like the guy aged maybe 15 years. It's astonishing. He looks good in 2019 in comparison to today. I can't believe how good he looks, frankly, going back to those videos when back then I was saying, oh my goodness, this guy has got to go. Yeah, it's absolutely insane to me. Here's Tucker Carlson. I want to play this video clip too real quick. This is Tucker Carlson video clip number 8, talking about Joe Biden's dementia. And it's funny how the media is all of a sudden figuring it out. Let's go ahead and roll that, por favor, Gabe. Oh, do we have that?
But I watched CNN today, and they had the presidential debate, the U.S. presidential debate. And maybe some of you saw it. And if you did, well, it was amazing. It was amazing on every level. But what was especially amazing was afterward, they went to the panel of assembled Democratic operatives posing as journalists, and all of them were like shocked to discover that Joe Biden has dementia. Like, they couldn't believe it. What? Oh my gosh! He's non-compos mentis! No way! Are you serious? And I'm thinking to myself, what year is it? 2024-ish? Middle-aged people identify with that? Okay, 2024, people are saying. It was 2019 that I heard from a friend of mine who was friends with his sister, Val, that the family was very upset because Joe has dementia and he's running for president. And, well, I said this on TV, by the way, at the time, and was denounced as a racist or something. I mean, everything, in the United States, like, that's just like the all-purpose term for shut up. Racist!
So true.
It's like, I think he's white. Shut up, racist! Okay. Anyway, but his sister had told a friend of mine, like an actual friend of mine, one of my neighbors, that the family was upset and that his son, sadly, had passed away. By the way, not in Iraq fighting a war for freedom, but of cancer. I don't think he's aware of that. But sad. And that the family was convinced he needed to kind of get it out of his system by running for president. But of course, no one's going to like make Joe Biden the nominee because we had Pete Buttigieg for that. Who's, now it's a joke. But at the time, they were like, people are going to love Pete Buttigieg. He's incompetent, but he's gay. Great. And then people were like, what? No. So they had to go to Joe Biden, and he actually became the nominee and then somehow became the president. But it was obvious the whole time that he had no idea where he was, and that it was cruel, and that his grasping, horrible wife, who like poses as a doctor, was pushing this so she could go to state dinners. And everyone knew this. Like, there's not one person who didn't know this. And when you travel outside our borders, you know, people are always so nice about other people's countries. Like, they don't attack you to your face. And obviously, I'm the most American person who's ever lived, and I love my country, and I'm going to die there, and would die for it without even thinking. That's how much, and I mean that. So everyone wants to be polite to you about your country. And when, like, if I ever went to New Zealand, I wouldn't mention Jacinda Ardern or what, you know what I mean? That would be rude. I wouldn't say like, oh, that retarded girl with the teeth, is she here? You know, I wouldn't. That would be, no, I wouldn't. Because that's not something a guest says, right? You're in someone else's, you know, you're having dinner at someone's house, and like the food is appalling. Oh, it's so good. You know what I mean? But even given the high standards of politeness offered to foreigners in foreign lands, everywhere I've traveled around the world for the past 4 years, and it's been a lot of countries, people are like, so Joe Biden, how is he? You're like, well, I think he has dementia. He certainly does.
All right, we can cut it there.
Like, everybody knows. Everybody knows.
We can cut it there. And I'll get to this in just a moment. And that's exactly why I'm not going to give Jake Tapper or Dana Bash a pass. And I'll share some more media lies with you in just a second. But a lot of people, even on the right, wanted to give Dana Bash and Jake Tapper some credit. Oh, they did such a great job moderating. And I'm like, they did their job. They did a decent job. You know, I will give them that, but that's what I expected. However, I'm not going to give them a pass, and I don't think they're the greatest thing since sliced bread, because they were complicit. They have been complicit in the last 3.5 years in literally taking this country down and undermining it by pushing Joe Biden, who they knew had dementia. They knew it. They've known it all along. Every single one of them have known it. I'm not a doctor. You're not a doctor, but we all have common sense, and we've watched Joe Biden fall on his bicycle, poop his pants in public. We've all watched it. We've all seen it. We know the guy has dementia, and still you have the left calling us ageist and all this other stuff. Just absolutely insane. All right, so now let me get to this. The debate might be the end of the road. This from the American Spectator for Barack Obama. What do you mean for Barack Obama? Okay, guys, as I mentioned earlier on Gallagher's show, what we're witnessing before us is intra-party turmoil. Who's going to be controlling the party? All right, that's what we're witnessing. That's what we're witnessing. Technically, it would be a bad idea for Joe Biden, for the Democrat Party to throw Joe Biden under the bus. But make no mistake, because of legalities, ballot access and all this kind of stuff on state ballots and all that kind of stuff. But they can do it before the delegates are obligated to him at the convention. And if they can get him to resign or, force him out, pressure him out of office before then, they'll be better off because they feel like they can make things happen. It'll be difficult, but they can make things happen. They were really counting on being able to take Trump down with all of these fake prosecutions or fake persecutions. But you can see this stuff is backfiring. Not to mention when he was found guilty in that fake hush money case, where literally one of Biden's DOJ officials demoted himself and started from the DOJ, third highest position in the DOJ, Michael Colangelo, and went to work for Alvin Bragg. And so when there was a guilty verdict, 34 felony counts on what would be otherwise a misdemeanor in the state of New York, and they couldn't tell you what the second charge was to upgrade it to a felony, and then they made 34 felonies out of what should have been one misdemeanor. Everybody just went wild. I donated, as did many of you, and then the left had realized, we made a mistake. Now, we still have to wait and see what happens next week with Judge Juan Merchan, because he could possibly send Trump to jail, and I wouldn't put it past the left. Well, Carl, listen, you see what happens, we donated all this money, this backfired, just like I said, and so the left won't do that. Juan Merchan won't do it. Really? They won't? These people are desperate. These people are communists. This isn't your grandpappy's Democrat Party. All right? These people are absolutely desperate. They don't want to lose power. So many of them are elites. So many of them are crooked, including the Biden family themselves. So here's the problem. Here's what we're witnessing right before our eyes. It isn't just a matter of Joe Biden, being pushed to the side, which it is, but there's also intra-party turmoil as into who's going to control the party. Because if you push Joe Biden out, you have to understand this, you're actually pushing Barack Obama out too. What? Yes. All right. So the problem with Biden, we all know from the debate, his debate performance wasn't his debate performance. He has dementia. Democrats can't deny this now. You see, they're not denying it. All they can do now, post-debate, they demonize Trump as a liar. They were even lashing out against Jake Tapper and Dana Bash. Apparently, the Biden family were upset with them. They were upset with the people that were prepping Joe Biden for the debate, as if they don't know that their own dad and husband, grandfather has dementia. I mean, the people are absolute lunatics. They really are. Now, the betting odds have moved significantly in Trump's favor. All right, so predicted had it where Biden went from 86 cents to 55 cents to secure the Democrat nomination, not win the White House again or get reelected, but to even win the nomination. So Biden has to go willingly, or Dems have to force him out before the convention. That's the way it is. Joe Biden won't quit because Joe Biden won't let him quit. He's not going anywhere. You guys saw the video. I don't think we have it. You did so good, Joe. In the debate, you answered every question, talking to him like she was about to serve him a bowl of ice cream, because that's how she talks to him, right? When at night or in the evening or when he's away from people, like a little kid, trying to help him to understand, trying to help him to remember, trying to encourage him and boost him up. But Joe Biden, she's not going anywhere. She's addicted to power. Bill Ackman, I don't know if I can find it. He had a devastating tweet earlier. He is a hedge fund. I think he's a hedge fund guy. And man, his tweet was he went right after her, because basically he was like, dude, we can see what's happening in the White House. Here it is. She likes the feeling of being in power, he says. So after Joe Biden's disastrous performance at the debate with former President Trump on Thursday, numerous Democrats called for Biden to step aside so someone else could enter the race. But Joe Biden fiercely claimed her husband would keep running. This is what she told Vogue. She said the debate on June 27 spurred a discussion about whether President Joe Biden should remain the Democratic nominee. Dr. Jill Biden, the First Lady and Vogue's August cover subject, has fiercely defended her husband and stood by him, reached by phone June 30th at Camp David, where the Biden family had gathered for the weekend, right? You guys heard about that. She told Vogue that they, quote, will not let those 90 minutes define the 4 years he's been president. We will continue to fight. Now, Bill Ackman took to X to post his reaction. He says, I no longer blame at POTUS Biden for not stepping aside. He no longer has the mental acuity to make important judgments about himself. All right, so since we know he doesn't have the mental acuity to make judgments about himself, this guy shouldn't be the president of the United States. I'm down with the 25th Amendment. Carl, that'll help somebody else. No, I really don't think so. I think it'll send a lot of people in the Democrat Party in turmoil, quite frankly. But he goes on to say it is becoming increasingly clear, however, that the fault lies with FLOTUS, Joe Biden. Florida First Lady Joe Biden becomes irrelevant the moment her husband is no longer president. He's so right. No more Air Force One. Listen to this. No more glamorous life. No more White House dinners for dignitaries. No more being treated like a queen when traveling the world. He says, I am sorry to be harsh, but what has become entirely clear is that the First Lady values what is best for herself over her husband's health and the safety and security of the country at large. He continued. Stress is a contributor to neurological deterioration, and the doctors must have told her so. Of course they have. They've got the best doctors, access to the best doctors in the world. Think about how much stress she is putting Biden under by making him continue. Now in public appearances, she treats him like an infant, just like I said. You answered every question, or an old man as she walks him off the stage, and she gets the crowd wound up and cheering at events. Now ask yourself this. Ask yourself this. If Joe Biden is no longer the president of the United States, what will Joe Biden do? Do you think somebody's going to call Jill Biden like they would Michelle Obama and ask her to give a speech or write this book or that book? You think people are really excited about Joe Biden? No, he's absolutely right. The moment they are out of the White House, those people are nobody. Now consider this. Joe Biden is already gone. And where are his brothers going to go to get money? What about Hunter Biden? What is he going to do? Crackhead. What is he going to do? These people depend on Joe Biden's power. Not to mention, Hunter Biden is still facing a tax evasion case that he has to go through. I mean, this is insane. Now, but here's the deal. Obama is the real reason that Democrats can't run away from Joe Biden. What do you mean? What do you mean? Guys, Obama still pulls the strings, all right? Jill Biden and Joe Biden can have the White House as long as they fundamentally continue the foundation that Obama laid to fundamentally transform America. Democrats didn't want Biden. Go back 4 years ago. They didn't want Biden. They didn't want Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris couldn't even get to Iowa, right? I don't even believe she made it to Iowa, the first state, right? I don't even think she made it there. And then Joe Biden, everybody thought it was over. And then all of a sudden he had a resurgence in South Carolina when James Clyburn decided to endorse him. Why did James Clyburn decide to endorse him? A lot of black voters there, but also because I think Barack Obama was in the background saying, listen, nobody else could win this vote at this time. Joe Biden he was down with me as vice president. He can wrap up this black vote or what have you. We can beat Trump in this way. I think it just became a calculation at that point that Barack Obama was a part of. So Barack Obama runs the party, and he has since 2008. Great piece by the American Spectator. And that's a very long time. So Biden can now have the White House. Joe Biden can have the White House, but they can't control the reins of the Democrat Party. That's what Obama controls. Now, everybody else might be a hindrance. You think about this. All right. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. can't even get Secret Service protection. Why is that? I think it's because of, I know Joe Biden playing hardball, but I think they cooperated with Obama. All right. So if anyone else comes in, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he's a liberal, but I think he loves America. All right. They destroy the Obama brand. All right. More people realize how empty of a suit Obama was. That legacy is destroyed. So not even a Kennedy is welcome in the Democrat Party. He can't even participate in their primary process. And then I started wondering about Gavin Newsom. All right. I was like, man, how come? I was shocked. I thought they really were going to pull a switcheroo with Gavin Newsom. he had the debate with Governor DeSantis. Governor DeSantis destroyed him. And at first I thought, okay, they were moving away from him because of that. But then I saw the left started kind of going after Gavin Newsom unexpectedly hard. And I was shocked by that. And I was like, man, you know, what's going on? Well, obviously they're not going to be pulling for him because the Biden administration allegedly were slapping him down and all this kind of stuff. And I was just like, man, what's going on? What's going on there? What they were concerned about is that Gavin Newsom would be his own man. He was cocky enough to believe that he could come in and be better than Obama, even though he's destroyed California. Michelle Obama doesn't want the job. A lot of people are concerned about her. Michelle Obama doesn't want the job. She'll get a pay cut. Why would she want a pay cut? She doesn't like being in the White House. She doesn't want a pay cut. And then the bloom would come off the rose, because as great as she is in giving speeches, she was even better than Barack Obama, if you remember, even more inspiring than Barack Obama. But she's never run anything. So then when she's got to face down, you know, Republicans and go back and forth, I don't think she wants to deal with that kind of stuff. So that's what we're seeing. Kamala Harris is a joke. Listen, guys, they want to get Joe Biden over the finish line because Kamala Harris will be a puppet, just like Joe Biden is a puppet, even though he thinks, or Joe Biden thinks, oh, you know, they can live it up lavishly. But essentially what they're doing is just building on Barack Obama's foundation. Kamala Harris would do the same thing because she's a puppet too. We all know that she's not bright. Yeah, she would tie up the black female vote, but she doesn't do well when it comes to independent voters, when it comes to moderates, when it comes to people in swing states. So she's not a threat. J.B. Pritzker is another one that was mentioned to take over for Biden. The governor of Illinois, billionaire, but he funds a lot of this trans stuff, so he's not a threat. Guys, this is Barack Obama's party. This is Barack Obama's party. Anyone else would have to wrestle the grips away from Barack Obama. And remember, Obama is tied up in corruption too, with that Russia collusion hoax and God knows what else. You don't think he knew what Joe Biden was doing in Ukraine? All right, I'm going to close it out with this media stuff. I'm gonna bash Dana Bash and Jake Tapper. Before I do want to talk to you about wealth protection research. At the very heart of our democracy lies a principle that we hold sacred. It's free speech. It's the cornerstone that supports every freedom that we cherish. Yet in today's digital age, discussions about our wealth, our rights, and our future are being silenced or overshadowed in mainstream narratives, leaving many feeling voiceless in conversations that are crucial to our financial independence and security. This is where wealth protection research steps in. They're armed with a mission that's never been more critical. Wealth Protection Research is not a financial advisory firm. They're defenders of free speech, committed to giving a voice to the silence. Wealth Protection Research tirelessly seeks out financial experts. These are the voices that challenge prevailing narratives, especially as we navigate the uncertainties of the 2024 election. Wealth Protection Research has created a 2024 Election Wealth Protection Report. This free report highlights the 3 best ideas for protecting and growing your money heading into the 2024 election. A lot of people concerned about that. It contains, including me, it contains ideas the mainstream media won't touch, and listeners can get it completely free. All you have to do is text the word ideas to 76626 to claim your free copy. If you believe in the sanctity of free speech and the importance of financial freedom, act now. Text the word ideas, IDEAS, to the number 76626 to claim your free copy of this 2024 Election Protection Report. It's time to widen the scope of what we're told, to hear the ideas the establishment does not think you can handle, and to take control of our financial destinies. Text the word ideas to 76626 to claim your free copy. Plus, if you text the word ideas today, you'll also get a free gold investment kit from Wealth Protection Research as well. All right, so just real quick to close this out, let me bash Dana Bash and Jake Tapper. So a lot of people are giving them props, right? I think I want to play one more. A lot of people are giving them props. Oh, let me take you back. Let me take you back to an oldie but goodie. If we could go to clip number 9, Gabe, just tell me when it's ready, and then we'll close out with this final point here of why I believe Dana Bash and Jake Tapper don't deserve any credit, even after they put on a pretty decent debate. Okay, let's go ahead and roll that. This is old video.
There is one less candidate in the race for the presidency tonight. Delaware Senator Joseph Biden dropped out of the hunt today, saying the disclosures about his plagiarism in law school and his exaggerations about his academic record made it impossible for him to continue.
I do it with incredible reluctance and it makes me angry. I'm angry with myself for having been put myself in the position of having to make this choice.
Okay. So that's who Joe Biden has always been. He's been a plagiarist. No wonder. This is who he's always been. This is a guy that's been in Washington, D.C. for 50 years. People kissing his butt, telling him how smart he is when he's dumb as a box of rocks, arrogant as a box of rocks. And this guy has worked himself up into the White House, which is completely insane. Now, why won't you give the media credit? Why won't you give Dana Bash and Jake Tapper credit? I've heard some people on the right giving them credit. I don't think they deserve it. Now I can't find it in my stack of brilliance. Let me look through my stack of brilliance. I wanted to make some. Oh, here it is. Make some quick points here. Let me remind you guys of what we endured under what we've endured over the last 3.5 years with Joe Biden. This is from AM Greatness. Media's lies about Biden's mental fitness finally caught up to them. Speaking of the media, so let me just remind you some things that we've gone through. Joe Biden has worked on average 30-hour work weeks. 30-hour work weeks. He's the most powerful man in the entire world. He's worked 30-hour work weeks. Has almost never said anything without the assistance of a teleprompter or a note card. When he does speak, he gives tepid remarks that rarely last more than 15 minutes and are almost never in prime time. Why would you not give these addresses in prime time? It's because he's a sundowner. And every single one of these people in the media, including Jake Tapper, including Dana Bash, absolutely knew it. His handlers, according to AM Greatness, want to ensure that he has the fewest number of eyeballs on him at any given time so that he can continue to gaslight you. There should be a media. There should be a press besides those of us on the right who get called all types of, and I don't care about that, but get called names and all this kind of stuff for telling the truth. And it's not like it's difficult. We can just look at Joe Biden and 3.5 years as well, Biden has seldom answered any questions from the press or done any serious interviews in 3.5 years. When he does take questions, he already has the answers written down in front of him from pre-selected reporters. And I wonder if he had notes at the debate. I really do. We watched Joe Biden. Think about this. He fell up the stairs on Air Force One. He took a tumble off of his bicycle when he just came to a standstill. He tripped on a sandbag on the stage at the Air Force Academy graduation in Colorado and allegedly pooped his pants. All right. He speaks in a language that sounds like tongues, even though he's not Pentecostal. All right. He's always confused or often confused about where to exit on the stage. He wanders around aimlessly in public. Now, CNN, ABC, CBS, NBC, MSNBC, nothing. Crickets. So they've let us endure it. Hell, remember Jake Tapper even being so condescending for anyone that wouldn't take the, you know what I'm saying, during the COVID years? So condescending. And now all this new information that has come out that has proven Fauci is a liar, that has proven Dr. Deborah Birx are liars. Has Jake Tapper talked about that? Has Jake Tapper apologized for that? What about Dana Bash? And then consider this. I'm just going to go over a few of these and we'll close it out here. I want you guys to consider just some of the fact checking that went on during the debate. You guys remember, even during the debate, Biden accused Trump of recommending drinking bleach during COVID. And that wasn't the case at all. What Trump had spoke about with a briefing with William Bryan at the time, then Undersecretary for Science and Technology at the Department of Homeland Security. Bryan had talked about a study to the Daily Signal that found that some sun exposure and disinfectants such as bleach could kill the coronavirus that causes COVID-19 when it lingers on surfaces. So what Trump said at the briefing was this, and I quote, "I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in 1 minute." And so they obviously showed this to him, right? And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning? Not saying putting bleach in your body. He's saying, is there something that we can create that basically cleans out our system, that does what bleach does on surfaces? He says, because you see it gets in the lungs and it does a tremendous number, speaking of COVID, on the lungs. So it'd be interesting to check that. So that you're going to have to use medical doctors but it sounds interesting to me. So he didn't in no way said that he would inject bleach. Have they corrected that? Have they corrected that? Here's another one, just real quick. The Charlottesville lie. Remember that very fine people lie? So days after, we just got a fact check from Snopes, right? And that's all because this has all been a hit job to get rid of Biden. They want to throw this fool under the bus. They want to throw him, but it may be too late for them. And right now they have to weigh the risk. If they throw him under the bus, can they still, can they win the House, or can they do okay in the Senate? They have to weigh the options. And if they go away from Biden right now, it may cause so much chaos that they just may not do it. But they'll do it. If his polls continue to tank, they'll do it. The Charlottesville lie, where Trump said there were very fine people on both sides. He said, I think there are fine people on both sides. Would American president would ever say, this is what Biden said, would ever say Nazis coming out of the fields saying the same anti-Semitic vow, carrying swastikas were fine people. This is the guy who says Adolf Hitler's done some good things. I like to know what they are. This guy has no sense of American democracy. So that's what Joe Biden said that Trump said. Now, in actuality, he made up that Charlottesville story, and it's been totally debunked. And again, even Snopes debunked it, but they only debunked it because they want to throw Biden under the bus. So just understand that Snopes lies to you, so they're not worth taking seriously. But they went ahead and said it. But what Trump said were that there were two very fine people on the sides. People were debating as to whether or not the statue of Robert E. Lee should be removed from the city. And there were some people that said it should be removed, other people that said it should stay for historical purposes. He was talking about those two people. And he specifically condemned white nationalists, white supremacists, and all that. You heard Jake Tapper correct this? Any of that? No. I could go on and on and on. I won't for the sake of time. We need to wrap this thing up. But I will just say to you, I'm sorry, Dana Bash. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry for them. But I'm just telling you, no, they don't get any accolades from me. We're actually doing what they should have been doing all along, and that is being fair journalists. Instead of anything that will hurt their candidate. They're not like me. I'm an opinion commentator, right? So I'm going to give my opinion. They're not. They claim to be journalists. So if you're going to be journalists, act like journalists and act like journalists all the time. They simply don't. They're partisan hacks. They'll get no love from me. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show. This was our live. Please remember, please subscribe to the podcast, The Carl Jackson Show. Please subscribe and share our YouTube channel. We would appreciate that so much. The Carl Jackson Show. Rumble, the same thing. If you're on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, wherever you are on social media, we will certainly appreciate that. Also, I apologize to you guys. I'm trying to finagle through this. I need to check the YouTube chat. Gabe, is there anyone say anything that I should quote? Because right now okay. All right. So I appreciate you guys that have tuned in to YouTube. I will go back and check this. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to get used to this stuff. This has not been my forte, but I am going to get better at this. I'm going to be, again, every Monday night. And I'm sorry we had some technical difficulties this week, but we will be starting every Monday night at 8. All right. So Gabe is going to force me to stick to that. So 8 o'clock on Monday. So we will be doing a live show. And the rest of the week, we're going to be taping podcasts, and we'll put those podcasts out daily. But Monday nights, we're going to go live. All right. So I look forward to that. I'll look on YouTube. I'll be responding to some of your comments there. I appreciate you guys tuning in. And until next time, don't grow weary doing good. God bless you.